Upon hearing the name of New Zealand, the first images that come to the minds of many tend to be of green vegetation growing abundantly on multi-leveled landscapes, as well as clear blue waters associated with visions of purity. The society and culture inhabiting this island in the heart of the Pacific Ocean are commonly envisioned to consist of descendants of European settlers, and they now form the majority of the country's population. And yet, before the arrival of the Europeans in the 17th century, the island had already been inhabited for many hundreds of years. Aotearoa, or the land of the long white cloud, was founded and named by the children of the sea, who are known to the world as the Maori people. Maori, from Polynesia to New Zealand. According to archaeological studies, the first humans arrived in Polynesia over 3,000 years ago, but it wasn't until the 18th century that ethnographer George Foster participated in Captain James Cook's expedition, and a travelogue was produced featuring anthropological insights that were drawn from experiences with the variety of South Pacific societies. Differences were noted between the features of Polynesians and those of Melanesians who inhabited a neighboring subregion. On average, Polynesians were large and tall with a solid build, and they clearly had lighter skin than Melanesians. In times that followed, there were additional observations that Polynesians had similar facial features as well as skin and hair that was in the same groupings as those of Asians. From there emerged the theory that the ancestral origins of Polynesians lay in Southeast Asia.
Ki au ki te Maori o tōku waka ko te arawa, takahia rā ki te hiwi o tōku taumata ko tī heia, ka te tiro whakararo ki tōku awa ki te waimimi o peke haua ko te awa hau, kei māwhiti noa ki te kōhanga o tōku papa kōhatu ko tari mano e tū mākona ko tawa ke heimua, ko te ruāhine ko te ao ngāhoro kāputa wiki waho, ko rangi wewehi, tū nei au e koko ia e arai.
New Zealand is considered to be the largest island in the Polynesian Triangle. From 1320 to 1350, after spreading themselves around islands large and small, the brothers and sisters of the sea began to expand their territory to the island that is now known as New Zealand. Rotorua is known to have a concentrated Maori population. The city, located in the North Island, has a relatively warm climate. Our Spiritofasia team arrives at Wakawerewa, where traditional Maori ways of life can still be observed. According to legends of the tribes, it was here that the fire goddesses emerged from the Earth's core, causing the natural phenomena of volcanoes, geysers, mud pools, and mineral springs. And yet the historical aspects also bear points of interest. The first settlers arrived in this village in 1325, and natural conditions were thoroughly incorporated into their ways of life. The heat from underground, which was believed to come from the two goddesses, became an important element that was essential to the lives of the local people.
This will be one of the many hot springs we have in the valley. So mostly vegetables are cooked in this pool.
Okay.
Anything with fat or oil not only contaminates the water, it has a reaction. The pool has no bottom. Our geologists, they put cable in the pool to measure the temperature and depth, and they ran out of cable at 50 feet, realizing the pool opens up as an underground cavern. So when the pressure builds, the water rises, we channel that volume of water through the outlet to the communal bath. When it drops, 45 minutes to an hour before the pressure rises again. And it continues the cycle 24 times a day.
The hot spring that we see here has a beautiful clear blue color. This water source has always served as a boiler for vegetables and large-sized seafood. The Maori people of the village use these natural hot springs as a normal part of life. They have even calculated formulas for boiling and blanching raw ingredients. The villagers say that it takes 10 minutes to boil corn, 2 to 3 minutes to boil cabbage, as well as broccoli and carrots, 3 to 4 minutes for cauliflower, at least 6 minutes to boil eggs. It takes 5 to 7 minutes for lobster, and finally, it takes only 30 seconds for shellfish to get the boiled product ready to be eaten. Apart from boiling and blanching, the underground heat serves other purposes in Maori cuisine. The steam is also used to cook food, especially for the meat of land animals that cannot be placed in the hot springs. So in this case, a simple but effective device has been invented, and it's called the Maori microwave.
And the longer you leave the meats in the boxes, the more tenderized the meat becomes. So 4 or 5 families can share a box. If you pack it properly, like we just seen it here, you can feed up to 200 people.
Oh. How many of each do you got?
We have 4 boxes just in this area, but no families own any of the boxes.
Everyone can use it?
Yes.
That's great.
If this is full, then you go to the next box. Look at that. These are all pre-packed meals.
Pre-packed, yeah.
These are for the school that was staying here. All the school children, they pre-packed their own meals.
Oh, you have a school inside?
Yes, they stayed for the night. For the children, we had a school here yesterday.
Oh, like for a trip?
Yes, and this is all their lunch here.
The underground heat not only plays an important role in nutrition, but also contributes to skin care.
Just in front of you, the original bathing area. But as you can see along the edges, they collapsed. That's when the waters disappeared. But after the collapse of the baths, because of the continuous flow coming from pare kohuru, our people utilise wooden plank materials channeling the water where we bathe today. We call oil baths because of the minerals. So get to feel the water, because once your hand dries, it'll leave a sooky feeling on the skin. The baths are cleaned every day. After the morning bathers, cloths are removed from the corners, emptied, cleaned, replacing the plugs throughout the day, slowly refilling the baths. This is how we regulate the flows. Once the bath is full, block up the channel, open up the next channel, start filling the next bath. Because around about 5, 6 o'clock this evening, when the families arrive and hop into them. Now, it is a golden rule. Last one out of the bath pulls the plug.
On the day of our arrival for filming, the atmosphere in the village does seem a bit lonely. This is a weekday, and the residents have all gone to work.
This house belonged to one of our most famous guides. Her name, Margaret Patterson Tom, whereas she was acknowledged when she was a guide, Maggie Papakura. She was the guide during the 1901 royal visit, the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall and York. She was invited to the coronation when he became King George V in 1911. And Maggie was one of the first Maori women to study at Oxford University. Just unfortunately, before she completed her final thesis, she died. Now we have two churches in our village. The Anglican Church arrived in the village after the eruption of Mount Tarawera. When the survivors were relocated to the village, they brought the church with them. And we have the Catholic Church.
The Maori people hold beliefs in a supreme deity called Io, but when the British arrived, Christianity quickly absorbed itself into the cultural fabric of the indigenous communities.
Well, we had a belief. We believed in one creator, and that's why our people took to Christianity when it arrived in the country, because also scriptured in the Bible is one creator. And we also make statements. One of those statements we still make today, I te timatanga te kore. In the beginning, there was darkness. Also words scriptured in the Bible.
Due to the features of the landscape, the Christian burial rituals in the village of Wakawerwa exhibit some diverging aspects from what we see in other places. The underground heat has prevented the locals from burying the bodies of their deceased relatives in the normal way, so burial sites have been constructed at a suitable elevation in order to solve the problem of temperatures that fall within a range that is too high.
Life, so everything that has movement has life. So that's why we bring this in, because to let everyone know that we are living and we are moving.
Here at Te Puya, home to the New Zealand Maori Arts and Crafts Institute, we watch the same performance held at Wakawerwa all over again. Both shows exhibit a roaring energy. The dance is an ancestral war cry performed to place fear in the opponent's hearts during battles fought against invading tribes. The warriors would use aggressive facial expressions such as bulging eyes and poking tongues. They would make intimidating noises, stamp their feet, and beat their chests. So it's no wonder that we feel the excitement all throughout the performance. This large building standing in a central location is called the Whare. It isn't exclusive to this place. In fact, buildings like this one can generally be found in every Maori community.
So this is what we a whare marae. Marae are basically used for a lot of different things, ceremonies, anniversaries. We do wedding, funeral, or tangi, we call them. Now, all of our buildings represent a person.
Yeah.
Okay, if we look up into the rafters, we can see all these rafters that head into the middle. That represents a rib cage. A rib cage, your ribs. Yep. The line straight down the middle, or the main rafter there, that's your spine. And this here, this pole that comes down the middle is called a potoko manoa. And that is your heart. So this is the heart of the building. So what that means to us is that when we come inside these buildings or the whare, it represents an ancestor of ours. So they're protecting us. So it's a safe space in here.
The Maori language doesn't have a traditional script, so ancestral records have been passed down through the generations in the form of designs carved into wood.
That what they represent is just different people, different ancestors. As you can see, this one has a child here, so it might have been a father. Okay.
Like each one is as one person.
Yep. Yep. Some of them you'll find they have like the white patu. I'll see if we have one over here. So he might have been a warrior of some sort that was diverse with a club.
Is the green thing is a weapon?
Yep. So diverse with that sort of weapon. We have this one that has an axe. So he might have been, something that represented around potentially wood carving with an axe, or forestry, or different types of meaning of who these people represent. Some you might see they have a fish, and that just denotes that they might have been great fishermen. And that's how we relate those stories to keeping the relevance of who these people are.
In most cases, designs on Maori wooden carvings are inspired by the surrounding environment. The Ra'u Ponga, for instance, shows inspiration from tree ferns, which can be found all over the island. Meanings behind the fern symbol include the backbone or the rib cage, which are the body's primary structures that sustain life. There is also the puhoro, which is associated with speed. The design is inspired by warriors' tattoos extending to the legs, which are characteristic of fast movement. Apart from the whare, which can be found in Maori communities all over New Zealand, there is also a small building of another style that we find in almost every village.
So this structure here is what we call a pātaka. Now a pātaka is a storehouse, right? We would store our food, so all our food would go inside, it would dry out, generally raised off the ground to stop animals from getting in. Now in the olden days, and I'm talking years ago, the bigger the pātaka was just to promote how prominent that tribe might have been at fishing or hunting. The door itself is actually underneath, so you would climb up underneath, go through, store your food and collect it. There is one still there today, it's just on the back end. So this is made out of paua shell or abalone. It's basically when the sun hits it, it gives this beautiful reflection, makes it more prominent, you can see it. At night it looks, it can be quite demeaning or scary, I might say, and it's just a way to bring it to life.
Apart from the Bataka storehouses, Maori villages also have the Watarangi, which bears a similar appearance to the Bataka, only the Watarangi is smaller. This is a raised storehouse where the most precious treasures and souvenirs of the tribe are traditionally to be stored.
You can see all the abalone eyes again, just bringing it to life. All the different stained woods. Yeah. This one here, an ancestor that was probably related to the ocean somehow.
Like a mermaid?
Yeah, the way we can tell that is because you've got the scales
Yeah.
in the tail. So probably, god of the ocean of some sort. And again, just the way that we kept our stories.
Due to a reduction in the Maori population compared to the country's overall population, the duty of preserving cultural heritage takes on an even greater significance.
So yeah, this is a patu. This is what we saw in some of the statues to put, a wooden hand weapon or a short club.
Can really remove the liver from dead animals?
Yeah, definitely. So it's finely sharpened down to become a fine blade that we'd use to. Yeah.
Oh, it can be sharp as knife.
Yeah, of course.
Here at the New Zealand Maori Arts and Crafts Institute at Te Puia, students from tribes across New Zealand have trained in their ancestral traditions. Applicants to the school must be of the Maori bloodline. Apart from English, the language of instruction also includes Maori for certain classes. The skills taught include the carving of stone and bones. The raw materials that are used tend to be the stone which has primarily been sourced from the island. Then there is the class that our Thai team is quite familiar with. Although the designs exhibited in the end product diverge from the Thai, the basketry and images of weaving don't feel to be so very far removed. The flax is a flowering plant that is easily sourced in New Zealand and belongs to the same family as the rami.
Install the better tool for extraction.
Okay.
So traditionally we could use that edge for scoring. Nowadays we make good use of Stanley knife, but we still use this for extraction for this part of the process. We're having to remove that film off the phone.
Very strong, right? Ooh, thank you.
And for the final class, only men can attend, which is also the case for stone and bone carving. This is the class of wood carving.
Now these will be transformed into some of the bigger pieces that you've seen. When a piece comes in here, what happens is that they'll bless it. We call it karakia. And then that's just to kind of, welcome the piece in.
These arts and crafts have been disappearing following the arrival of Western settlers. The beautiful Maori language is another important aspect of cultural heritage that has brought about great changes in Maori society. The Maori language had disappeared for 4 generations. Then the time came for the Maori people to gather in the capital of Wellington to submit a petition. Finally, in 1987, the Maori language was revived and brought back for official use.
So when we teach the children, the letters of the language would comprise a song, starting with the first vowel letter A, those consonants H, K, haka, M, N, mana, P, R, para, T, W, tawa, and the 2 sets of digraphs ngā, wha. Then you add the tune. Ahaka mana para tawa ngā wha e. He ke mene pere te wenge whe I. He ki mene piri ti wingi whi o. Hoko mono poro tō ngo fo. A e I o u. Uhu kumunu puru tu ungu fu.
Over the past decade, a special topic of scholarly interest relating to the Maori has to do with their similarities with Taiwan's indigenous people, specifically the minority group residing in Taidong City. From their spoken language to their hunting and fishing practices, all the way to their facial tattoos, their cultural interconnections may actually go back tens of thousands of years. Evidence suggests that people who spoke the Austronesian language traveled from Taiwan and intermarried with Papuans, and the result was the Maori. Austronesian languages include Malay, Javanese, and Tagalog. The Maori cultural heritage hasn't been swallowed into mainstream society. This is an important quality that sets New Zealand apart from other countries that use English as their official language. Without the beauty of ancestral traditions, New Zealand may only be an abundant island where people of many different ethnic groups arrive to benefit from the country's natural resources.